Hi, my name is Bob, and I need help, along with thousands of other Americans. Oprah, I hope you're listening. You may be our only hope. I'm talking about Social Security. There are a bunch of questions that every American has a right to know the answer to. Hopefully you can find them for us. Everything Social Security tells you is a lie. They have a list that says these diseases are so severe you automatically qualify for Social Security disability. That's a lie. They tell you your disability starts from when you were diagnosed. That's also a lie. They say only their doctors can diagnose you as disabled. Your doctor can't, which makes your doctor seem incapable or incompetent to make that diagnosis. Let me tell you my story. In 2002, I quit my so-called self-employment job to go to college. I was going to college time and a half so I can get done as soon as possible and get a good paying job. While in college, I was diagnosed with a disease called peripheral neuropathy. Peripheral neuropathy affects your coordination and your nerves. It is a painful disease. I spent a few years lying on the floor, rarely going out, wanting to put a bullet in my head. I found out when you're in pain, you can only cry so much. Sooner or later, you have to learn to live with the pain. I fought a wheelchair for a lot of years, and when I did go out, I had to ride the scooters they have in the stores. If a store didn't have a wheelchair for me, I couldn't go. When I went to a store one time with my wife, the store didn't have a wheelchair, but I had to go into that store. What they did was brought a rolling chair out to me, and my wife rolled me around the store. I felt ridiculous. I finally broke down and got a wheelchair. Somebody seen me one time and said, "Are you collecting disability?" I told them no. They said, "You should be collecting Social Security disability." And she said it took her 10 years to get it and that I should fight. I talked to my doctor about it, and she said I should because I couldn't work. She said you need to fight them all the way because they'll keep on turning you down. So eventually I put in for Social Security disability and was turned down. I went to a Social Security advocate lawyer. He looked at me and told me I was too young and too educated to get disability insurance from Social Security. What does my age and education have to do with disability? I went to a Civic League meeting one time when there was politicians there, and I asked them for help. They said they had nothing to do with Social Security, it was federal. Yet, one of the letters I had said it wasn't Social Security that said I wasn't disabled and turned me down, they said it was the state. So apparently the state politicians have no idea that Social Security is using them for their citizens when it comes to disability. I got turned down the second time, and then I had to go to a hearing before a judge. Before I went to the hearing, Social Security sent me to a doctor. I asked the doctor, was he going to diagnose my disease? He said no, he could only do what Social Security tells him to. While I was having the EKG, he was sitting down typing up a report on a typewriter. I'm assuming for Social Security, a typewriter in the age of computers. I didn't understand that. He had computers in the office. Is there something in here that he wanted to hide and not be able to be traced? I don't know. The man said he was from somewhere in South America, which makes me wonder what kind of doctor Social Security has. I also found out later that their standard procedure when you go to a doctor the Social Security sends you to is they do a chest x-ray and they do an EKG. No matter what your illness is, that's their standard procedure, is the EKG and the chest x-ray. I guess they want to see if you have lungs or something they don't have, a heart. I went to the judge, and before I went to the judge, he told me he was going to take my age and education into consideration. Again, my age and education. I don't understand that. I wrote Senator Webb's office and told him that I'm applying for Social Security. I have a hearing before the judge, and I'll probably get turned down, and I will need his help. The senator sent me some letters that said, what do you want help with? Social Security, what federal programs? I called the senator's office up and asked specifically what the senator can do for me. They told me the senator could bypass all the red tape and go straight to Social Security. I said, fine, but they said I had to wait to go through the Social Security route first. Eventually, I got the reply from the judge. I was turned down again. This time, I had to appeal to the Social Security Board to review my record. It took over a year, but I finally got a response, and they refused to look at my case. I again called Senator Webb's office and was told that he can't do nothing for me. They said the only thing they do is send a letter asking them to expedite my case. I said, well, why did you tell me last year when I asked you about what you could do for me, you could bypass all the red tape? They're like, what red tape? We can't do nothing. I asked, can I talk to Senator Webb? They says, no. They says, Senator Webb does not help people. He doesn't have time to talk to everybody that calls. His job is to legislate. And the guy wanted to give me a lesson on what the House and the Congress does. But he made it clear, Senator Webb does not help people, and he doesn't talk to people that go and call for him. Senator Webb, I hope the next election comes, you won't be needing the help of the people in Virginia to get reelected, because I'm one that's not going to help you. I'm stuck now. Now I'm to the point where I have to sue Social Security in order to get it. The problem is no lawyers will take the case because it's at the federal level. So here's where I am now. I'm denied, and not only that, Social Security says if you go again for Social Security a second time and get it, you might get partial money or none at all. I doubt you'll get partial money. It's more like none at all. Now, what would be the motive for Social Security turning people down for disability? Did you know people that work for Social Security have a choice whether to pay into Social Security or get a lump sum when they retire? So they could work for Social Security, retire, and get a lump sum. They have a choice. I didn't have a choice. Do you have a choice? Did Congress approve this? Question. Where does that money come from? How much is that lump sum? What determines how much they get? Is that lump sum taxable? Do they also get Medicare, Medicaid? Do they get it for free? What happens if they run out of that money? How does a judge that works for Social Security get paid? Does he get a lump sum? Does he get partial payment every time somebody gets denied? Because I'll bet you 100% of the people that work for Social Security who became disabled are collecting. Where's that money come from? Here's what I think. In Social Security, your Social Security number is like a bank account. We're paying for disability. They're telling us that we become disabled, we're covered by Social Security insurance. But yet, when you're disabled, they don't want to pay out. What they do is no different than what Madoff did. They take your money under false pretenses, and I think they take that money and that goes toward their retirement. I believe your money, my money that we put into the system when we're denied goes to them. I think that's how they get their retirement money. I'd like somebody to prove me wrong because that's my belief. I'd like to know how many people who didn't pay into Social Security are collecting Social Security. How many illegals are collecting Social Security? Do people in the IRS have to pay tax? Those are some of the questions I'd like answered along with all Americans. Partial justice. I'll tell you what partial justice would be. Partial justice would be if those people in Social Security getting ready to retire with that lump sum, had that money taken away, put back where it belongs. You tell these people, hey, you didn't pay into the system. You need to pay in the system like everybody else in order to retire, but you don't have enough credits. So your retirement's denied. As soon as you work and put enough credits in the system, then you can retire like everybody else. I'll tell you, full justice would be for the politicians to put into Social Security. Their retirement plan is the best on the planet. It comes from the taxpayers, and they control it themselves. Nobody controls Congress and the Senate and all the politicians' retirement. They control everybody else's. When they're paying in the system like everybody else, that will be true justice and fairness for everybody. The judge and the lawyer says your age and education matters. If you get disability or not. Like the advocate lawyer told me, if I had a 6th grade education and was a janitor, I wouldn't have too much problem getting Social Security disability. Talk about redistributing the wealth. If I was too young and too educated to be collecting Social Security, shouldn't I have been too young and too educated to be paying into it? President Obama, you say you're trying to save houses, you're trying to save jobs, you're trying to create jobs, you're trying to get everybody health insurance. Social Security is a government health insurance program. It's part of the government of the people, by the people, for the people. One president put a stop to what people were doing in the IRS. You can put a stop to what's happening in Social Security. How many people become disabled, get turned down, they can't work, they lose their savings, they lose their home, they can't afford insurance, and now if you want to force them to get insurance, you're going to fine them because they're disabled and can't work, but yet Social Security, your government insurance plan, doesn't want to pay out. I think what they're doing is a crime. I think it should be investigated. Like I said, there's nothing different between what Madoff did and what Social Security does. You can put a stop to it. I'm just glad the government doesn't have a life insurance program, because my wife would have a hell of a time trying to prove that I was just as dead as that guy with lesser education than me. Oprah, that's some of the questions we need answered. I believe you're the only one that can help us. If you can't, hopefully you can find somebody to get the answers for us. Anybody out there, we need your help. Thank you.